What's up, everybody? It's your boy Trippy, and I'm back with my reactions and results video to Robert Whittaker versus Kelvin Gastelum. So, I don't like to toot my own horn, I really don't. But I got this prediction right, and I called it to a T. So, I told you guys for the entire duration of the fight, the jab, the counter boxing, the initiation of exchanges, Robert Whittaker was gonna win those every single time. Kelvin Gastelum can be pretty plotty with how he strikes, how he moves. He just kind of comes forward and looks for the perfect shot to knock a guy out, right? And tries to exchange with his opponents. That was not going to work with a constantly moving target like Robert Whittaker, though he puts himself out there to be countered and to be caught. And whenever he does get caught, he usually goes down, but that didn't happen this time. Robert Whittaker completely outclassed Kelvin Gastelum. A lot of kicks, a lot of jabs, and a lot of counter boxing. Robert Whittaker won the exchanges that Kelvin Gastelum got into. And those kicks, man. That dude has some powerful kicks. I can't even emphasize that enough. That guy kicks so hard. And it was letting Kelvin Gastelum know every single time he threw it and it landed anywhere, whether it was the body, the arms, the head. Kelvin Gastelum knew what was up every single time he tried to enter, and he got caught with those kicks. Whittaker did a great job mixing up the boxing with the kicks, but that jab, man, could just not let Kelvin get a lot of his offense off. Later in the fight, Kelvin Gastelum started to pick up a little bit and started to catch Whittaker, even rocked him at one point late in the 5th round. But, man, Robert Whittaker just completely outclassed him. Also, we got to talk about another thing. Robert Whittaker's wrestling has gotten so good. Has nobody else noticed that? This guy can wrestle now when he was primarily a striker with hardly any wrestling. This guy is a legit MMA wrestler now. He took down Kelvin Gastelum, though his controls can be a little better. He took down Kelvin Gastelum and made him look, he just completely put on a show. Though Kelvin did score in this fight and scored pretty significantly in this fight, that was nothing compared to the output that Robert Whittaker was putting out, man. The jab, the kicks, and the counter boxing is just what made the story, and the wrestling. All that mixed together, what Robert Whittaker did was a recipe for success. Congratulations, Robert Whittaker. Spectacular performance, like I called. So let's go ahead and talk about what's next for him. So what is next for Robert Whittaker? I had a guy comment to me and ask me, like, hey, you think a title fight with Izzy is next? And I told him, yeah, I think he's earned it. If it's not a title fight, it's some piece of UFC gold. But I can see the UFC going a bunch of ways. They can either reschedule him versus Costa. They can set up an interim title fight with him and Marvin Vettori, who was at the fight. Or they could just go ahead and throw him to Izzy. I don't see the title fight going with Marvin Vettori and Robert. I don't see that going down. But I do see either them throwing him back in there with Izzy or rescheduling him versus Paulo Costa. Him versus Paulo Costa, I think Robert Whittaker, especially based off this performance, would absolutely beat Paulo Costa. The jab, the counterboxing, the kicks, the movement, the footwork, the counter, all of that will just completely starch. I don't think he'll finish Paulo Costa. He might. He'll gas Paulo Costa out when Paulo Costa is just continuously trying to chase him. But I don't want to see that fight. But if they do put it on there, it just will be another win to Robert Whittaker's freaking record. And we gotta, if he does beat Izzy, we gotta have him defend the belt against some guys. But Israel Adesanya, his chances against Adesanya, it's still a really tough fight for him, because we gotta just think about it from an assessment. Robert Whittaker's wrestling has gotten really good, but he's not taking Israel Adesanya to the ground. Maybe with a sneaky takedown, but he is not forcefully taking Adesanya to the ground. If Jan struggled to get Izzy to the ground, Robert Whittaker is definitely going to struggle to get Izzy to the ground, because he is not the level of wrestler of Jan Blachowicz or any of the wrestlers Israel Adesanya has already faced. So that means it's going to be forced into a striking match. So how well will he do in a striking match against Israel Adesanya? A lot better, actually. A lot better, because he's not putting himself out there to get caught as much, but he is still doing it. And one snipe against Adesanya, one perfect shot is going to put Robert Whittaker out again. It's going to put him out again, but he is not making those mistakes anymore. But he is switching it up, man. Even if he attempts takedowns and mix it up with his striking, that in itself will throw off Adesanya's game a little bit and allow him to catch Israel Adesanya. It's an interesting fight now, an interesting fight. But it is still a tough-ass fight for Robert Whittaker, man. I hate to say it. But as far as anybody else, I don't see anybody beating Robert Whittaker except the champ, man. This guy is a winner. This guy is just born to be a champion. I don't see him losing to any of these guys, and that's including Marvin Vettori. But that's been my thoughts, reaction, and recap to that fight. And once again, it's been your boy Trippy, and I'm out, man.